Seems like audio's good and we're good. Are you ready to start this thing?
I mean, we've been here. We've been started.
You know, you always say, I ask a simple question, and the answer has to be, well, you know, if I had played Jazz Jackrabbit.
We've been started this shit. We've been started.
I guess we have. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Jam Radio, episode 6? Question mark? I think it's 6. That sounds right in my head. I'm joined by guest, MajinObama. How's life?
What's going on? How you feeling?
I'm doing all right. I'm stuck inside. Is that bothering you at all? I feel like you're somebody who that's not a big deal.
Yes, because I want to go outside and run and go to the gym. So I started running a little bit more. But what I think I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to hard commit. I'm going to get rid of my bed because, you know, I got a real small apartment, man. I'm going to get rid of my bed. I'm going to buy a squat rack in a month. And I'm just going to sleep under the squat rack.
You're going to sleep under the squat. You know, in my experience.
I want to come out this full beast mode, you know, just while y'all were watching, you know,
studying
e-girl streams and reading doujin shis and all this other shit, I studied the blade. I want to just come out that shit just raw.
Well, two things. One, when it comes to squat racks, I will say that if it's anything like a gym, you'll wake up and someone will be squatting or using the squat rack as a bench press, and you're like, it's a fucking squat rack. You got to use it to squat.
Yeah, the classic, let me use the squat rack to do these curls. Like, yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, you're like sick, bro. Yeah, they're curling. It's so fucking stupid. They got like a 25 on there, too. I'm like, bro.
God forbid you use the curling thing right next to it. No, you got to do that in the squat rack. Get the hell out of here, man.
Yeah, it's because they never do anything for their legs. The second thing is, I feel like your body has extreme flexibility, and also you can already dip low. I've seen you twerk less than 3 inches off the ground already.
We aim to please.
And I think given that, you can't go any lower. Like, your center of gravity can't go.
So you know JoJo's, right? You haven't watched it yet, right?
I'm on part 3.
All right. So in part 7,
oh Jesus,
so it's not spoiler. This is just so part 3 is all about the stands, right?
Yes.
Part 2 is all about the hamon, the ripple.
Yep.
Or, you know, part 7, the theme, like the power theme, is the golden rectangle.
Okay.
And the theory is anything that falls into the angles of the perfectly symmetrical, like gold rectangle, right?
Sure.
Is just like it's max power. It's just the perfect form. Perfect. I can't explain it to you. You got to see part 7.
No, the thing is like, I believe you because JoJo is so absurd, but when they explain it, it's like, oh shit, they might have a point.
He could be a hell of an insurance salesman because
right.
The thing is, it could be just the most absurd shit on earth, but he'll be like, he'll sell that shit. He'll sell it to you.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I was like, oh man, the rectangle, like, so my form now, I'm like, I'm looking in the mirror and shit.
You're like, how do I make my body the
perfect decline, hip crease just below the kneecaps, perfect rectangle.
Yeah.
And I'm just in there. Squatting 600 raw, baby. No problem.
Damn. All right. That's pretty impressive. Easy peasy.
No, 600 that's like
600 600 pounds?
Yeah. For if you weigh more than like 180, the 600 not that impressive, I think.
I guess. If you have a perfect rectangle.
You did wrestling, right? So like I did a lot of like powerlifting and sports and stuff. But the thing is, like, where the schools and the people that I know,
mm-hmm.
I went to high school with a junior Olympian in powerlifting.
Yeah, so one of the guys I went to, the dude that set the squat record at my school, he plays for the 49ers. He's like their center or something, or like their nose guard. So yeah, like when you look at the squat rack or records, and it's like 10 through second, right? And then first place is like 400 pounds higher or something. Like, it's like an absurd gap. You're like, okay.
There's just that dude that put up 700 in high school for no reason.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, yeah, I guess 600 is not a lot.
Yeah. And you're just like, well,
for sure.
I mean, what the fuck am I supposed to do at that point, right? Yeah, so there's a couple of things we want to talk about. You want to talk about this Evo announcement, right? I'm down to chat about it. It just happened.
You tell me, man. You're the newsman. Yeah.
Well,
tell me.
I think it is good news. I can pull it up on the screen. Actually, it's brand new, and I think if it didn't just happen, I probably would just like say we should talk about it. But because of that, like, I'll pull it up on the screen for everybody to see. They announced like an important update for Evo, so I'll drag it over here in case anybody didn't see it. I know it looks a little weird currently. Bam. So it says, due to COVID-19, We are sadly canceling EVO 2020 at Mandalay Bay and refunding all purchased tickets. But to keep the EVO spirit alive, we're bringing the event online this summer. More information coming soon. The health and well-being of our community is our highest priority. We hope everybody stays safe during this time. The EVO team.
First things first, softball question. How do you feel about the decision to make to cancel it?
I mean, that's like the easy. It's already, that decision had been made, right? You and I both know from at least 2 to 3 months ago that event was not happening.
Yeah, I think anybody with eyeballs could probably figure that out, right?
Yeah, I remember when it was like I did a week of COVID. I came in and I was like, hello, everybody. It's Stormy Skies here with your weekly COVID weather report. And I did like a daily COVID update. And by the end of the week, I was like, Chat Room Evo's not happening. And they're like, look, man, I'll see you at Combo Breaker this year. It'll be my first CB. I can't wait to meet. I was like, you guys don't understand. Nothing's happening this year, right? Like, there's nothing. So Evo not happening was an obvious one. It was just a matter of waiting for the announcement.
When you have Chris Seglia on your show, ask him who was the first to bring him the message. I called that shit in January. I was like, bro, this ain't shit happening this year. Hell.
Yeah, I remember.
I could see that coming a mile away.
I remember, speaking of that, I remember at Evo Japan when I talked to you and Juna, you guys were like the two people who were most like on the ball about COVID. I think because Japan had their first case right around then, right?
It happened like right before that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I remember you saying you were feeling sick at the event, and I was like, oh, hell no, I got to stay away from...
Never mind, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Excuse me?
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
What were you just about to say right now?
I definitely got a little bit ill after that event. I want to take an antibody test, to be honest with you, just because like that's the worst part, right? You don't know.
You have no idea. Yeah.
But
which is so weird.
Shit, sure. I mean, we could segue to that real quick. That's your thing. Is thinking about how shitty America has dealt with this, right?
Yeah.
Japan's just been just as poor.
I was gonna say it's surprising because everywhere, everybody I've been talking to so far has been in the U.S. I was gonna ask about how it's been. I remember you guys, I think it was you or Gina said like nobody took it seriously until the Olympics were canceled or something like that. It was like people just didn't want to believe it, really, or something.
Well, the timeline is all about like protecting interest, right?
Yeah.
So the Olympics, you have to understand, if you haven't lived here for an extended amount of time, this is something that a problem like, or if you haven't lived in a place where the Olympics have happened before, you got to understand this was like 7 years of construction, a shitload of money just dumped into this stuff, built up over 7 years. When I first came here, they were talking about this shit.
Right.
When I first came here, they got the bid, and they've just been talking about nonstop. Olympic 2020, Olympic 2020, Olympic 2020. Then this shit happens. So you dump all this money, all this economic focus into this one thing, and then this other, these I don't know where it comes from, right? There's like the theories of people eating rats. I don't know, man. Whatever the hell's going on. But that whatever this is, right? Pandemic, now threatening the economic return you're supposed to get from that, dude. Like they're idiots, man. But they're also in really like, it's like a wall. You're between a wall and a rock and a hard place. You know, it's that kind of situation. Either you're gonna get hung over the pandemic, or you're gonna get hung over the economic fallout as a result. So of course, that a lot of the leadership was trying to protect that. They were intentionally keeping numbers low.
I heard
there were
about
a lot
that.
of people who had it and were catching body bags over it, and they were just writing it off as pneumonia or the flu, right?
They got roasted by South Korea. Like I saw South Korea leadership came out and was like, y'all motherfuckers just want the Olympics to happen. Why aren't you accurately reporting like we are? And it was like, they were attacking people in Japan and stuff. And then
I mean, between them and Taiwan, right? Like Taiwan, that's the crazy shit. Dude, I don't even like talking about this shit because eventually it turns into a China discussion and stuff like that. But Taiwan, they killed this shit. And if I was Taiwan, I would be twerking on everybody right now. They should just be talking so much shit. Nonstop, they should be talking shit. Because, I mean, they took the information seriously. They acted on it when it was supposed to go down. And here's the scary thing, man. Here's what I think about. So for the Asian countries, right? You got to remember like SARS, MERS, all those, the aviatic flu when it was popping, right? Those weren't as bad, but they were lessons learned each time for a lot of those countries on how to deal with this kind of problem when it comes up.
Right.
So that now, when you look at the Western countries who didn't have those weren't so impactful for them, right? They're getting their ass cheeks getting clapped right now.
It's brutal.
So the thing, what I always bring it back to is, at some point, I don't know why it is this way. Maybe it's a good thing. So you've done wrestling, right? You've done wrestling, you've done sports. Sometimes you need your ass beat.
Oh yeah,
just how it is. Sometimes you need your ass beat. Fighting game. Sometimes you need your ass beat.
You just gotta get your ass beat. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Evo Japan. I got my cheese clapped in uni. You better believe I was in training mode every day after that.
So, every day doing the same combo for 5 hours straight.
And I realized, and I never dropped it after that either.
I realized you have a cover. I realized the way it is. When I watch your stream, you're doing the same combo. It doesn't matter what game it is. You do one combo for 4 hours on stream. And every time you get close to hitting it or you drop it, you turn back to the chat and you just say something. I don't know what it is, but you're like, you guys ever play Jazz Jackrabbit? It's like the same shit you're doing. Like, you're like playing Axel and you're like, 6P, 6P. You're like saying the notation. You're like, far at. You guys ever gone and done this? Like, it's like your way to transition from the dropped combo to whatever the topic needs to be. And you do the same. I come to your stream, bro, and I'll look through the archives 3 hours later. And the comp right there, Axel's on the screen. 6P, 6P. I'm like, bro, how is he doing the same combo for 4 hours?
It's just because it's just training mode shit, but like, you got to make it fun somehow. I mean, the cool thing is you're doing it with other people. You're just
that is
out,
nice.
Right?
Yeah. You got the chat there with you for sure.
I turned into a training mode fetish person. You know what I mean? Like, I'm cool with like the games to me that I think are awesome, that I think are the tightest to me, are the ones that I can play by myself. Like, I'm just a freak, right? I can just play by myself and I'm having the time of my life. You know, you just sit in Marvel 3's like that.
Yeah.
Marvel 3's like that. Guilty Gear's like that. Tekken's like those kinds of games where you can just sit in training mode by yourself and still be having some kind of fun. Maybe I'm weird, right? But
no, I think that's super common. Like, I think, dude, I've seen people go back to Marvel 3 lately and just like play that game in training mode and just like you don't even have to do anything new. It could just be your B&B and it just feels satisfying.
I have the disc. I'm definitely, I just started learning another character with it, like for no reason. It's just fun.
Yeah.
Especially now, you know, when obviously, you know, we have no events to really carry our games like that.
Yeah.
With the focus so much on online and, you know, I don't know. For me personally, it's just very difficult to feel excited or to feel feel fulfilled, or feel like I'm improving or pursuing something by just endlessly grinding net play.
I was gonna say that about so Evo's canceled. Obviously, that's a big one. We knew that was gonna happen. A lot of events are canceling. A lot of events are switching to online and stuff. I think in general, online stuff as a replacement is cool, right? It's cool that people have that shit, but at the same time, it's so tough to feel satisfied by those tournaments. It's so tough to like feel like, you know, you watch these events. You can't have the World Finals online, right? Like it's not the same. And even I don't know if you've ever commentated online or like remote events. The feeling is never the same as being there in person, right? You don't have the same kind of energy. You're not as connected to the people in the room. It's just a very different experience.
They're naturally, especially this year, they're a replacement or a substitute, but you can never, you know, like Eris has those videos, right, that have been popping up recently where he says pretty much the same thing. It's the same thing we've all been saying, the same thing he's been saying. You know, it's not like a controversial opinion. I think if you play these games, is fighting games are a very intimate experience naturally, right? Offline, there's a certain tension between the two people, you know, sitting across from each other, sitting next to each other. Obviously, offline compared to offline, you know, offline is going to feel better.
Yeah.
There's so many little things that the crowd, there's so many little elements that you lose when you switch to that other format that I think it becomes, you know, for us, right, especially right now, you know, we have to pursue it right now, right? Because I mean, if we don't, dude, imagine just having to just look at Twitter every day for fighting game stuff for the next year. Jesus Christ, dude, there's something stupid as hell every other goddamn day.
Yeah, but there's some new stupid ass thing going on that you have to pay attention to.
Opening my phone and just laughing hysterically at 3 a.m. My neighbors have to hate me, man. I legit just look over, look at my phone, just like, what did they?
Yeah, what the fuck's happening today?
Like
it's
I
hard,
said, man. But you know what? Right? You can't be hard on yourself, right? I just blame the culture, me. But the thing is, with the online games right now, it's what we have to pursue because of our situation, because of just like what we have going on for the next year and a half. I'm gonna say it here: next year and a half, next 2 years. Get it out of your head. If it's anything, if you think it's sooner, get it out of your head. You know, this is what we have to do and what we have to explore, and we have to see how hard we can push this in the meantime. But man, it's a hard sell. It's just not as compelling, man. It's really like you said, even like commentating, right? It just feels different, and you don't feel anything. You don't feel anything.
No.
bro, you gotta feel something.
That is the worst part for sure, dude. Commentating remote events, it's so hard. Even events like, I'm sure you've had events like this where you guys are commentating an overseas tournament, or you guys are commentating something in Japan, right? Like you guys did the Grand Blue tournament online. Like that tournament is sick, and you like get excited, but it's still not quite like, you know what I mean? Like if you were there in person, you would have been screaming, but you're like, oh, that was cool.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's like I can I make a crude analogy?
Sure, yeah.
Condoms, no condoms. I think you get what I'm saying. You know, You can't feel nothing. You know, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
There's like that famous Smash Melee tweet about that. Have you ever seen that?
What? I forgot who made it. I saw something like it.
I think it was like SFAT or something, and he said like playing net play was like having to touch yourself, and then playing offline is having that special person touch you or some shit like that. It's such an absurd thing for a human being to type and then tweet, but then like you're like, wow.
You think about it and you're like, damn, I kind of feel what he's coming. I kind of feel where he's coming from, you know?
Yeah, you're like, an absurd thing to type, and then you're just
it sounds so ridiculous, it sounds so immature, but then you're like, shit, that does kind of hit the spot though. You know, that does kind of strike that note.
Yeah, for sure. I'm impressed though that he came up with that. It isn't impressive. I like how Z in the chat said, why is everybody in the chat pretending to know the difference? Thank you, Z. They put their lols in the chat and their Keck W's or whatever people spam on Twitch, whatever emotes, but they didn't know. They're like, this shit went over my head.
God bless Z. Calling it as he sees it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, as far as like that kind of feeling and stuff goes, I think you and I both know that it's not the same. And I was gonna ask, you guys have been doing a lot of production stuff in Japan. In case people don't know, Tenno is the company that produces a ton of your favorite fighting game events and tours, right? They work on TWT, CPT. They do EVO every year. They do the big, TWT finals and CPT finals, and they work with tons and tons of different companies. You guys have been doing the JP branch of this for a little while, and you guys opened a studio. It's just like the timing is so brutal too, right? You guys have this studio where you guys are planning to do a bunch of content and like, I'm assuming produce a lot of cool stuff for Western and JP audiences, and then obviously COVID happens. So like, what's your thought process on what you guys maybe were planning to do, so people will know the kind of stuff, and then maybe what you guys are going to pivot to?
Not so much changes. The stuff that I really wanted to do and the stuff that I wanted to pursue, obviously that's put on the back burner. Just because of the nature of gatherings here right now is you can't do it, obviously.
Yeah.
So right now we're gonna put a stronger focus on more net play based events, but also we have a lot of cool stuff I think cooking for. Look out for interesting stuff on YouTube and streams too. I've got some pretty good stuff planned.
Yeah, I think you guys do a good job on the YouTube channel. I saw you guys hit 30K. Yeah,
it happened like a few hours ago. Yeah, it was a little bit of incremental progress. You know what? To be honest with you, doing Fighting Tuesday every week, right? I feel like we got kind of complacent. You show up every week, set up, run the tournament, cut that footage, put it on YouTube. And for a while that hit, but then obviously interest tapers off or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not the same as being aggressive about talking about our games or what comes up in the news, topics, things like that. This.
Yeah.
You Moss.
That's a very good point.
Work you guys know. That's something you have to capitalize on. And shit, me and you've been talking about this. For me, you, Hanzo, everybody's been talking about this. I didn't really have a vision on this, I think, or a strong vision on this until I think I started working for Liquid. And it's just like, man, FGC media presence out.
Destroy.
Hell, on Twitch, but Twitch, YouTube, even Twitter. I just feel like we're just. It's so weird, man. I feel like the genre is a macro level is not where it should be in 2020.
Yeah,
our
sure.
Scene, I feel like in some ways is really, really, really strong in some ways. But then I feel like even our scene in terms of media presence, I'm like, dude, it's 2020. Why are there so few YouTube channels with over even like 20,000 followers or subscribers?
Yeah. I mean, so you brought up, I think that's a great point. There's two things I wanted to touch on before we get there. One was, you guys were grinding Finding Tuesdays. You have done so many events for them. It's an incredible event, right? It's a dope local. I love the tournament. And you were mentioning cutting the footage and just putting it on YouTube. And you mentioned that was a feeling of complacency. that was putting on a local every week that it like obviously is a lot of work and it really matters, but it's interesting that even though that's the case, it can't just be all you do and you have to really pivot and change, right? Because I felt that way when I was doing like I was going to locals and doing match analysis, right? And I realized like I did like 500 hours of match analysis and then I was like, what the fuck did I only do that? I should have been doing all this other shit. It was lazy of me not to pivot, right? Even if the work is a lot, if you don't realize that you need to go and do something else, it is lazy to not change and pivot and do something that is like more interesting.
You gotta keep it moving, keep it grooving. You can't just be content with just, showing up, clocking in, clocking out.
Yeah, doing the same old shit. You have to think to yourself,
you gotta keep pursuing something,
Yeah. You have to challenge yourself to create new stuff and also, come up with shit that people want to see. Which I think is super true.
Diversifying too is a big thing too,
Yeah, but about the media presence, FGC gets destroyed. I mean, you and I talked about this in my Discord a while ago. Like, if you compare any sized like FGC person to a similarly like, if you would go across like horizontally in the scene with Smash destroys our social presence, our media presence, and like basically everything about FGC community. If you do it sideways like that, and even the unfortunate thing is like, you tell players and you tell people to pursue this kind of stuff, and I don't think they take it seriously. Maybe this year and I guess into next year when there's no events and your value really starts to drop when there's just nothing happening in the world, I think maybe people will start to take it a little bit more serious. But it's still...
When literally your value is determined by your media presence.
Yeah.
Now, yeah.
It always has been.
And to their credit, I've noticed a lot more people active and noticed a lot more people trying.
Yeah.
Across multiple scenes too, and it's really good. I like it.
Yeah, me too.
I wish it didn't take a pandemic to drive that point home, right? But,
yeah.
Better late than never, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So working with Liquid and I guess thinking about this more, it must be. Yeah, comparing FGC numbers to everything else, it's a disaster, right? Even our categories on Twitch, when you look at them outside of tournament numbers, like home streams and like other content people produce, the viewership is so low, right? And it's like a lot of it is, I think, like what you mentioned with Tuesdays, maybe a little low effort. It's just grinding ranked and not coming up with anything interesting to produce. And I think create compelling content outside of just the narratives that are naturally driven in tournaments. That stuff happens naturally, right? You have to go out of your way to create something interesting around the category or be one of the people whose personality is big enough to draw numbers for a stream,
Yeah, and there's proof, there's definitely proof of concept. There's people who's been able to, I don't have to name any names, they're obvious,
Yeah.
There's people who've crossed those boundaries before and been able to do that. But I think something that I've had to come to terms with for the past like 2 or 3 years. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting older. I don't know. But I just, in my mind, I thought that the scene was so much cooler than what it is. No, like, you're laughing, but I'm being serious. Like,
I know.
To me, I think about it, and I'm like, man, there's so many cool, like, different personalities. There's so many, like, I think this guy's hilarious. I think this guy's, like, there's so many cool personalities, so many different kinds of people, such diverse backgrounds. And I'm like, dude, I thought we should be on top of the fucking world, man. Yes. What the hell is going on here?
I know this feeling, yeah. You'll watch, I don't know, some generic YouTuber or Twitch guy or somebody who's somewhere who has like a big following, and you're like, this dude is boring as shit. I know 100 more people who are more interesting and fascinating and would do such a great job with an audience. I think Tasty Steve is a good example, right? Like, I think Steve is one of the most interesting people on the planet, but you look at his audience and how many people follow him and how big his stream is compared to somebody who's just not interesting or boring or flat, and you're like, man, it's so weird.
Yeah, I was talking about this a little while ago. That's all. It's also kind of a weird catch-22 about the way different media platforms work. And if you notice, like, crossover streams, like crossover streams between this platform and this platform might be a little bit higher than crossover stream from these two platforms to this platform.
Yeah,
I think Twitch is hard to break into now, to be honest with you.
I think so too.
Like, you gotta try it, you gotta hustle, you gotta do it. But like, dude, Twitch is hard, man.
I realized it the other day when Snoop Dogg was streaming. And he had like 110 viewers or something like that. And I was like, damn. Dude,
tell Snoop to grab a cat and abuse it on stream. And then he's good, Just like, you got to do stuff like that, man. You got to get on live stream fails. That's like, if you don't, it's not happening. But I'm, in jest, of course. But yeah, it's just tough, man. Because I definitely have that moment too where I'm like, dude, 10,000 viewers. This guy's playing some wild shit, Valorant or something. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are these people watching? I'm like, put Smooth Viper on here, and he would have them floored. Could you imagine just miking up Smooth Viper and just having him just I don't know, play SpongeBob or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah, anything.
But I'm like, why don't we have this? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it takes laying the groundwork and putting in so much time and effort, right? Streaming is one of those things that if you don't have a plan of attack and you don't continuously come after it with a goal, it's so hard to build your stream.
Or if you aren't very lucky.
Yeah.
Right.
I think luck has a big part to it, but I think if you formulate a strong strategy, there is
you make your own luck.
Yeah, you sort of get there. I think it's important. You know, one thing I was thinking about, and I think your content is a lot like this too now, is when it comes to Twitch streams, I used to just think about them as like, okay, I have different things I do on stream that I really like to do. But I think now when I come to the stream, I come with an approach. Like I have a plan of attack. It's almost like scripting a YouTube video, but you just do it live on stream. You're like, I'm going to come on stream and this is the topic and this is and you kind of have what the idea or the video will be in your mind. And that kind of structured like Twitch show, I think always performs better for me. It takes more work, but it's always worth it. And I think that the viewers appreciate it.
So like for streaming for me, I didn't really, I think my earliest archive you can find is in 2013. Mm-hmm. I think it's a clip of me playing Corey in the House on Nintendo DS emulator. And I'm dead serious, by the way. I think if you go to my earliest clip, I think it's from that far back. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how like, I hit that point maybe like 2.5 years ago where I was started to think like that a little bit more. Like, this could be so much. It's cool if I just turn it on, just get drunk and just do whatever, right? But like, it could be so much more than that, and especially if you are involved in the community like that, or if you have like an interesting perspective on things, even, you can do so much to share that with other people. And so like, I started taking it way more seriously. Like you talk about, it's like scripting. And fuck that, dude. I make hard scripts for shit. Yeah. It's got to be painfully obvious because what happens is I'll close the stream or something will happen. I'll wake up, look at my phone or some shit like that, and I'll be like, man, what? You just start thinking about stuff and points you want to make. I'm really scatterbrained naturally. I got to write it down or I'm gonna forget.
I'm sure this has happened to you at 3 a.m. I've been about to fall asleep and my eyes shot open and I reached over and grabbed my phone and I started just like writing notes down for the next day. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta put that. Like, this is like some shit that I really need to talk about and I don't want to forget it.
Dude, I'm pushing 40 now, man. I damn near got Alzheimer's. It runs in my family. I gotta write that shit down. My whole life is like memento now. I'm just like constantly writing shit down.
Yeah, I mean that. But to be honest, that's how it is. Because the thing is like there's so much. You know how like a day goes, there's so much shit that you're thinking about and everything, and then if you don't write it down, it's definitely not coming up.
You know what the worst feeling is? When you have a really good idea and then you forget it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you're just like, oh shit, I fucked up. I should have wrote that down.
Yep. You're like, son of a. I had one time there was some shit like that. The reason I started writing stuff down is I had a comparison that was really good. And I was like super happy with it. And I was like planning on structuring a stream. And I had like some clips in mind. I got distracted and I came back to it. And I tried to piece it together. And like my version of it was like some telephone mini game. Like it was like such a bad version of my idea. Yeah. I was so sad. I was like, fuck, I messed up. I had like this really cool idea too. And I just completely botched it. And I was like, I'm writing everything down. This is the only way to do it.
Not a smooth segue here. But to go back and answer your question about the studio. Mm-hmm. Around January 2019 is when we all first got keys to it and started to be able to set up for it. And that's also, when Japan got its first COVID case. So yeah, like you said, really bad timing. It's been really slow for us to try to get it up and running to that point. But I feel like now, especially going through summer, I can say for myself, I'm like really, really motivated. I've got a lot of good ideas. I think that are stuff that I'm really excited to try to do that. Cause that's the thing, man. It's also like for me, this is me personally, right? This is like this is me to you, right? And with whoever's listening.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is, I make it about myself. I put it on me. Is I've been talking shit about all these people. I'm like, dude, all these sponsor players. Like, what the hell are y'all doing, dude? Make some shit. Right. Just make something. Talk about it. Just do anything. So now I'm putting it on me. I'm like, I kind of have a unique chance here. I want to go fucking crazy with this shit. I want to do some wild boy shit. So I'm thinking like I'm putting some stuff together. It's taking a while. Kind of, it's taking a minute, but watch out this summer. I got some cool stuff lined up.
What's funny is I feel everybody I've talked to on here who makes some shit has the exact same kind of idea, which is, I really wanted this thing to exist. And when it didn't happen, I was like, fuck all y'all. I'm going to make it myself. If none of you guys will do it, like that's kind of like the natural feeling that everybody has. And yeah, you know what's interesting is in the last like I think like maybe 3 to 4 weeks, I've just been looking into upgrades for all of my stuff because I had so many cool ideas that I wanted to do, and my stream is like the lowest amount of tech possible, right? Like it's like one step up from Eris's stream, you know what I mean?
I mean, with the D&D stream alone, right? Like that's kind of that thing, right? You wanted to have a FGC D&D thing, nobody else is doing it, so you just do it yourself,
fuck it.
Right?
Yeah. And the thing is,
the thing is, it's fun for you, dude. It's not. I feel like it's not even for other people. It's for you, right? You enjoy it, right?
That's the thing about it is like the thing is it's one of those things that we were gonna do no matter what, right? Yeah, like it was gonna exist no matter what, so it was like kind of like a why not thing, you know what I mean? Like, so that's what I love about the show is that it's something that I really wanted to do, and if like 10 people or 1,000 people or 20,000 people watch it, I don't care. You know what I mean? It's like I wanted to do it no matter what. So that's how I felt about it. So yeah, I think all of us are that way about most of the things that we make. You know what I mean? You're just like, fuck it. I just want to do this.
I think that's also kind of a misunderstood concept with even like streaming. I feel like a lot of people kind of look at it as like, oh, they're streaming to get like the hustle or whatever like that. And like, obviously once you get to a certain level, like you pay attention to stuff like that, maybe. Sure. Like, I don't know. But fuck that. I'm doing this shit for me. Like I think I just want to hang out with people while I, fail combos repeatedly over and over again for a few hours, just like that kind of shit.
That's the kind of shit. Well, the thing is, I don't know if you see this. I guess you and I both, I think we probably more than most FGC people keep our eyes on what other esports are doing and what's going on in like, I guess the greater like streaming world and gaming world. I constantly see streamers talk about how upset they are or like how frustrated they are with streaming or like how burnt out they are, or like there's so many people frustrated about the shit they stream, and they talk about numbers and they talk about all kinds of shit, right? And it's like I look at that stuff and I'm happy that I always do the shit I want to do because I don't know that I will ever feel that way. Like I'll drive myself to that point, you know what I mean? If there's ever a time where I feel unhappy about anything I'm working on or doing, I just don't do it anymore.
I feel like this kind of shifts into like a Twitch meta conversation.
Yeah.
But I want to do what I want to do. I don't like necessarily like. I feel like a lot of people get caught in that trap of just like, 5v7 remake. I gotta stream it every day now. Like, dude, you can play that shit on your own time. You don't have to do it this week. You can do it, next week. If you want to play, Bucky O'Hare on MS DOS or whatever. If you want to play that shit this week, right, you can just do that. You don't have to, I think at some point when it becomes your job for you and when it becomes like, a very important like income revenue source, right? You start to only think of it that way. But especially like for us as we play fighting games, a lot of people aren't really even used to really thinking about it that way. I think, just do what you want, man. Shit. You having fun is way more important than that rat race bullshit to me. That's just my personal opinion,
Yeah, and the thing is like, realistically, if you're streaming what you want, you will be happier and it'll enable you to create shit that you really care about and people will check it out. And also the viewership will reflect that, I think, eventually. Sure, there can be dips and stuff. Like, when I first started doing stuff that wasn't like KI or Street Fighter or games people know me for, right? The viewership was a little weird, but a lot of my peaks have been me trying brand new games and trying weird shit that people just didn't expect.
Pop in Under Night, learn a new character. Pop in this game, learn a new character. Because, and we were just talking about this. I think that shit is... If you play fighting games, watching other people, that shit is hype. Like learning when you can see other people's headlight bulbs light, like that shit is fun. That shit's I didn't think it would be that fun for me, but
yeah,
I guess especially since like if you're used to teaching or if you're a parent, I'm sure it's the same kind of thing where you teach this person this concept, this idea, you drill it, you practice it, and then. But you got to let them go. You got to let them go and do it themselves, right?
Yes.
There's that moment of like when they go and execute and they replicate that. That's that feeling of like, oh shit, they got it. You know? Even you could take it back to fighting games. Have you ever like practiced with someone or have you taught someone something and then you saw them do what they taught you, what you taught them?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. So I was a wrestling coach, and that's one of those things that is like, it is like so naturally like you. The best feeling in the world that I ever had as a wrestling coach was never from the best kid that wrestled in the room. It was from like the kid who was not very good at all. He was a bad wrestler.
The basic thing, right? Something basic that you taught them, and you like finally you execute.
It was like the second or third thing I ever taught, and it was one of the most simple moves I ever taught. But I know that I taught it a certain way, and I remember watching just like it was like a freshman level match. It was like these kids are really bad, and like I just remember watching him do this most elementary shit to win a match, and I was so fucking pumped. You know what I mean? I was like, I fucking was like the happiest person.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's a good feeling, you know?
Yeah, it was like you teaching someone how to do like a crouching heavy anti-air, right? Like it's like the simplest thing. It's not even an input. Like it's the least fancy thing they could do ever, and you're just like, thank God, they like learned it and they did it, and you're just so fucking happy. You know what I mean? That's like such a satisfying feeling. And I think fighting games are the same way. You talked about your experiences watching, as you refer to her, this bunny girl learn.
It's bunny_gif. Because I don't know how you feel about this. I hated that guy came out years later and was like, by the way, it's not GIF, it's GIF. Fuck that
it's
guy.
GIF, yeah.
We've been calling that shit GIF forever. How you? That's some shit you take to the grave with you, man. I don't like that. That's selfish. Why would you come out and just tell us that?
Try to ruin a whole generation of people's. Yeah, it's fucked up.
Yeah, now I come out conflicted every time I try to say that word. But anyway, she was playing the Stride beta, which of course, like you know that shit wasn't the how do I say this?
Yeah, it was bad.
Raw. Came out the oven kind of raw, right? Not completely baked. And I was like, what is this girl doing playing this game? Like, there's no way she's gonna be happy. Dude, she sat down, she opened the command list, was like, damn, look at this little pirate girl. How do I make the seal come out the ground? And she was just getting it in. I was like, oh, okay, go. Yeah. She's like, wait, how do I do this motion? So if you know the command list, how it has the nasty little triangle input, where it's trying to tell you to do short you.
I've always thought that those are really hard to read.
Yeah, so it's not like really easy to read, right? So she misinterpreted. And the cool thing about streaming too now is you don't really have to go through this alone, right? So let's just set this aside. You got the people in the chat, right? There's always going to be like that 40% who there's some dude like, by the way, I'm one of the top 5 Axel players in the world.
Yeah.
You know, pinky out.
Yeah.
By the way, you know, did you know that Soul Bad Guy has the power of the forbid? He is the prototype gear. Justice will never obey him. I know this because I read he's just going off on the game facts, dust loop lore shit.
Sure.
But there's always that percentage of people that are very positive, that are very like, you know, they're actually trying to like see someone learn. They're actually trying to get somebody in there, like, yeah. And man, people were just the second somebody was like, do 623, and she was like, what the hell are you talking about? What's numbers here?
Yeah, she's like, why is numbers coming? That was my favorite thing.
You can't make this shit up. I was losing my shit, dude. I was laying down watching. I was like, dude, she ain't never gonna get it. 36.
Dude, the best part is you can physically see her go, my numpad.
You like it's like see the light bulb. You physically see the light bulb, and I was like, dude, there's no fucking way. All these FGC vets in the West talk shit on numbers. It's not even a hill worth dying on, really. No. It's just like some mad simple shit, right? Like, bro, you're gonna be that defensive over looking down at a keyboard, man? Get the hell out of here. She looked at that shit for 30 seconds, and it was like, oh yeah, 4's back, 6-4.
Yep. She said 6 is my favorite number because I'm always moving forward. I was like, bro, ain't that the best shit you've ever heard or something? I was like, what an attitude, honestly.
It was something that you know, we were talking about this before, where like, yeah, man, if you like these games, if you, I guess, because you know what the thing is. Let me ask you this: what do you feel about this? The genre, because here's the thing. So, Gina recently did a video where he went on Twitter and talked. You know, look at what GG Stride players do. They sit on Twitter, but Twitter isn't the be all end all. So I went on anonymous boards and started reading comments, and I read a really interesting comment. You know, you know what it said, and this is just JP anonymous boards, is the fighting game genre is in decline. Do you agree or disagree with that? You think that's true?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I would say no, probably. But it's hard to say, right? Because I think our perspective of it is very different than, I guess, the perspective of everybody else. You know what I thought about this when I made the video about netcode, and it went kind of, it like got posted on our games on Reddit and everything. And I didn't really think about it, but when I read that thread, the comments were so bad about fighting games. All of them were like, fighting games are cool when you watch them at a high level, but I tried to play a fighting game and it fucking sucked. The top comment was like, I played Samurai Showdown because the game looked cool and people told me it was easy, and it was one of the worst experiences I've ever had trying to play a game.
Before you even finished your set, I knew exactly what the hell you were going to say, dude. You said our games, and I read the comment, I'm like, oh boy. But like, I guess that's what that guy was getting at, and it really got me thinking. I was like, man. So he's talking the genre, right?
Yeah.
Like the genre as a whole, macro level, especially when you compare it to stuff like the rise of MOBAs, FPS, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
The genre, I don't know if it's doing that well.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's weird because the initial snap reaction is it's obviously doing well. There's lots of new fighting games coming out, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything, right? Like new games coming out doesn't mean the genre's doing good or bad, or like you never know.
Is there that many new games coming out?
There's a pretty decent amount. I mean, there's like 2 to 3.
Riot, KOF 15 Strive.
Yeah.
Just those 3. It's not that many, right?
Yeah. And there's usually 1 or 2 indies every year coming out too.
Maybe so.
Yeah, I think like 5 pretty large fighting games coming out a year, or like 4 or 5. It seems decently big to me, right? But that's the thing is, like, you brought this up when learning or teaching fighting games or watching people. We're so buried deep in the community, it's often hard to tell what the outside reaction is. And I was talking a lot about.
You zoom out and you see it, you're like,
people just they think our games are fucking bad. They think our community is cool and our games are all shit. Like that's like what's interesting too is I did a video talking about I don't think fighting games are like any more difficult to pick up than like other genres in terms of learning the skills required.
I'm familiar with the video. It's pretty, I think, non-controversial.
That's what I thought too, right? A lot of people disagree.
But we play fighting games.
Right. And so like, I play a lot of different games and I give them a shot and I play them and shit. The thing is that I often wonder if when people think about those things, if it's just there is a miseducation about what it takes to learn fighting games, and if that is the fault of fighting game players for not explaining those things well to the general public, and also if it's the fault of fighting games themselves for being so non-intuitive for people outside the genre that when they get in that they're so frustrated by the time they're trying to actually learn the game, they just don't give a shit about them anymore. You know what I mean?
I think I don't know if I'm willing to just say it's the player's fault like that.
Mm-mm.
But what I would say is
I think it's like a dual relationship there where the game makes them feel bad by having bad net play and bad options, and none of this shit's going right for them, and then by the time they get in there you expect them to be like, oh, I'll get my ass beat and learn. You know what I mean? It's like a combination of those things. I think is so hard for them to do it.
That's something that's a point that I think that's really important that I've been stressing for a while now is I want packages.
Yeah.
I don't when the 2010s first started, I was like, man, the digital's changing. Dude, these games, like what am I going to be looking at in 10 years? And I said it with such like enthusiasm and excitement. I can't wait to see what they're coming up with in 10 years. They're going to be doing like way more engagement based stuff in the game. There's going to be way more, and it has not turned out that way at all. I feel like it's just been all the worst aspects of it.
I feel like in a lot of ways, fighting games have gone backwards in basic features that have been in other games or even the same company's games that don't exist in their newer iterations of it.
And I don't get it, especially because. So what you're getting at is, I think what's missing in a lot of the packages is ways for people to play the game and enjoy the learning process. Having a learning process, having tools, features, and modes to where they can play, win or lose, be enjoying the learning process.
Right.
And then also enjoy the other features and modes as well. But
right.
There has to be stuff to be able to maintain their interest or give them enough positive feedback to where they're encouraged to keep coming back, right?
The thing is, too, is
something that's missing.
Like, so for me, right, I love battle royale games, I love card games, I love shooting games. There's like so many other genres I really enjoy. When I launch those games, right, oftentimes you'll get like an early access game where it's like free or it's like, $15 or something. It has fucking nothing in the game. There's no content besides multiplayer mode against other people, which is like probably the most unforgiving shit you could have. Right? It's just you fighting other people with maybe not even skill-based matchmaking. So it's just you getting destroyed by people. And they're incredibly popular games. So I sit there and think, why is it that this game that is incredibly difficult, right, and has no other features, is doing so well, but fighting games are not, when it's the same kind of thing, right? And it's because the games are not made to be easy. The games are fucking hard, but you can do really cool shit in them, and the games are fun, and the game play of them is rewarding, and the online play works, right? So, like, it's just the basic features of the game work well enough for me to be happy playing it, right? Regardless of anything else.
Why you gotta talk down on PUBG like that?
PUBG is one of the worst games I've ever played. I put like 600 hours into it, and it runs like dog shit.
Same.
It's like
I've talked about this with you. It's same.
Yeah, it runs like dog shit. I love that game. It's like the gameplay of it is so fast. You die instantly. You can play that game for 40 minutes, gathering, picking up shit. It's like Animal Crossing. You're looting and shit. You know, you know there's neighbors around, but you haven't really seen them in a while, and you don't really want to talk to them. You're looting shit, and all of a sudden, bam! Tom Nook snipes you through the window, and you don't even know where you got shot from, and then you're just like, "I'll do it again," and you re-queue. That can't be any more rewarding than just getting fucking destroyed in a fighting game in my brain, but I just keep playing it over and over, right? Because the other features of the game work.
I don't know why. There's probably a really easy explanation why, but I just don't know. Why does this thing have that perception of being so much more difficult to subscribe to than the other one? You know?
Yeah.
Like you said, dude, you drop in PUBG, you can invest 50 minutes and it's a wrap. You can invest 20 seconds and you drop in the wrong building, you're done. You know?
Yeah.
I don't think that's particularly more or less like harsh or punishing than adjacent games. You know, it's just.
I think for sure, right? And I mean, like, even, you know, I was thinking about it because I've been playing, a lot of people are saying team games and stuff. That's always an argument. And, there's lots of arguments for and from. I've been playing card games, right? So I've been playing the new League card game. It's one-on-one game, extremely unforgiving, right? It's like one of those things where, like, you know, you play the game online. And, like, the thing about it is I can play it online and find a match in seconds, right? It has tons of skins and other shit in there that keep me interested in, like, oh, I can buy this, oh, I can unlock this, oh, I can get this, right? It has single player modes where I can, like, do my daily challenges and unlock cool shit. It's got all these things that, like, in beta are features that I can do outside of just grinding ranked against difficult opponents that make the game fun to play, that I think most fighting games a lot of times still fundamentally miss, you know?
And I you have to imagine, you know, like, for the devs too, it's got to be hard because think about, I think it's harder maybe for them, I think, to perceive how to monetize these games, to be able to try to afford a lot of those features and afford a lot of those modes, be able to afford expanding the development process and things like that too, right? But they got to figure that out, man. I just don't see how the genre moves forward if they don't figure out how to do stuff like that. You know?
And the other thing too is, like, you and I think have both talked about it, you know, in our experiences with Guilty Gear, which, you know, the beta happened, and, you know, all the shit about the lobby and the netcode and the UI, all that shit is obviously, it's bad. And if you're already typing it, well, it's not that bad. I don't know what to tell you at this point. You can't be any more wrong. But the thing is about it is, even past all that, when we got to the game, I think you and I both, and a lot of people had a lot of reservations, right, about how the game played. And I think one of my biggest takeaways is that as a fighting game fan, I already felt myself grinding against the edges of the game in ways that it felt like there was limitations placed on me that maybe when I think of Gear, I don't normally think of. And you talked about it in the video about a new player, a player from outside fighting games learning. The thing that makes us want to play fighting games and got us in the first place is cool games that allow you to do cool shit. And how easy they are, how hard they are or whatever is not what gets people interested in from the start. You know what I mean? It's just how cool and how many dope things you see that, oh shit, I want to do that. And I have that recollection myself of the first time I got invested in a fighting game was not because the game was easy, but because I saw somebody else do some cool shit, and it made me feel like, I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I will do that. No matter what it takes on my body or my mind or whatever, I'm going to learn that thing.
And the thing is, maybe it's really hard. Maybe it's a really hard thing. Maybe it's not. But you hit that point where you have to make that commitment to it, right? Or at least it gets you to the point where you have to make that jump.
Yeah.
You're willing to get into the game enough to where you can, like, oh, this is really hard. And then step 2, that's level 2, right? Where you're like, fuck it, I'm going to keep going, you know, or whatever. But yeah, I think, like, for Strive beta, it was, to me, it became really evident that, especially when I contrast, like, how I felt during the beta with watching, you know, Bunny play, right?
Right.
It was kind of proof of what I've been saying and what I've felt for a long time to me. And that's when the developers make these changes and make these, the modern trend to me, I hate it.
I remember you talking about this when Grand Blue was coming out. You're like, why are they even making another simple fighting game? They already have like another simple, like, why is this coming out? You know what I mean?
And the thing is, Grand Blue's fine. I like Grand Blue. Grand Blue's fun. It's great for what it is, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't see who pumping the brakes benefits there.
Yeah.
Especially, like, man, what's an example? There's something in Strive, right, where it's just not as interesting as preceding titles.
Yeah.
And you watch this girl, she's just going through the command list, she just wants to hit the dolphin to hit the ball, man. Like, even that simplification, even this, like the Gatling change, right, for example, right? She doesn't give a shit about the Gatling change. These changes that they're making to accommodate these people are so low level and intro level, they're not even able to take advantage of the theoretical impact that this should have. And instead, this bogs down the rest of the game to where you've now created a product where me as an enthusiast, as what I would imagine should be like the like you have me by default, right? As
you're an auto include for sure.
Now I'm like, well, shit, dude, I don't want to play this more than 18 months or more than a year, more than whatever, at least, or I don't want to play this until they patch this or whatever. You end up with that kind of scenario. Yep. I just don't see who that benefits. If the people that you're going for aren't even able to. They're not even able to see how that's a change.
That's the problem. That's the problem with the entire situation is these players are so new, they don't even know what they don't know. They don't even know what they could not know, right? It's like it's so beyond them that these changes are like, it's trivial. The game you could do anything and they wouldn't notice. They would have no idea, right? This is not a genre that they dabble in. This is not a genre that they know at all. Like, there's no way that they would know the change. The only way they would know this is if they watched a video of somebody else being like, the old Gatlings in Guilty Gear used to be better. And they're like, yeah, you know what? Maybe it was better. And they don't know. They're not even sure. They don't even know what they don't know.
So that to me, I think it's just there's a gap in terms of introspection, understanding of the status of just like what people like, what people want. And to me, a lack of confidence in their own products. To me, that's the disturbing part.
Yeah,
I said this the other day, man. It's like, bro, I feel like there's a girl I like. I'm like, man, she's beautiful to me. She's really fun to talk to. I love her. And then she's like, no one can love me. I'm hideous. And I'm just like, no, I like you. And then they're like, no one can love me. I'm getting, I'm changing this. No, don't change it. You're beautiful the way you are. I like.
Yeah, and it's you can't change their opinion. It's too late.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's where they are. You gotta have. You can't put a gun to someone's head and make them think different. You can't do that. That's just not how that works.
And that's been the modern, like you said, the modernization of fighting games has been simplify fighting games in the hope that it brings in all these other people. But like, you've seen the critical reaction from the core and the fans when games are simplified is so negative every time, and that screaming lasting impression from your core audience will seep into the general opinion.
First impressions matter. You don't ever think, dude. If you ask anybody who's ever gotten a job before or has had to turn someone down for a job, if you've had to turn someone down for it, how many of them make up their mind in the first 20 seconds, man?
Yeah.
We can just go down the line and point out games where, this was a good game, but guess what? Bad starting jump, false start. Sorry, it's not going to work out.
That's the end.
We can literally go down the line. We can literally just point out cases. It's happened way too often.
And I think the example of the Guilty Gear beta is it's brutal for the. I don't know how recoverable that experience for many people will be because so many people got their hands on Gear, right? And we're like, oh man, the lobby, even if you got in and you enjoyed the gameplay, how many viewers saw Maximilian try to get on and play the game and he just quit because he couldn't even do anything. He didn't, get to play it, and he has 10,000 viewers. How many of those people are going to be like logical humans who are going to be like, you know what, it was just a bad, the server was not work, it's a beta. Those people are like, oh man, the new Guilty Gear doesn't even work online. Boo, fuck it.
And that's the thing that got me. So to be fair, most of Max's, I think, YouTube content has been pretty positive so far.
Yeah, I think so.
I think God bless him, because he could definitely have just ripped on the shit.
Yeah.
But that's what I was thinking about. I was like, man, this guy has 12,000 people watching him. They're getting frustrated watching him get frustrated when he should be stupid excited, you know?
Yeah.
A brand new game, brand new Guilty Gear, looks incredible. What's not to be excited for? And then you can't keep that guy's attention for more than an hour? Like, yo, that's bad to me, man. That's real bad. And going back to what you said about the modernization of fighting games here, like, and that's the part that hits me in my chest. I remember 10 years ago how excited I was. I was like, oh man, I was second time I got to say this. I was so excited. I was like, I can't wait to see where these games are in 10 years. I can't wait to see what they're doing in the game, to be able to constantly, giving us new shit to do all the time, stuff like that, keeping people plugged in, all this other. And it's just, we've strayed so far from God's light, man. It just hasn't. It's just not. I feel like we're on the bad timeline, you know.
Yeah.
Like, how do I go back? How do I change this? We got to send Chris T, LTG. We got to send people back in the past. They got to change this.
We got to roll back to the future.
We roll back to the future. Let's go.
I feel like we're fighting games where other genres were like 5, 6, 7 years ago with how they handled modern patching and cosmetics and all these other things that were really interesting. That, like, I remember myself being someone who played a lot of MOBAs and other stuff and like shooters and stuff, maybe back in like 2010 to 2012, like in that era, like early League and other things, and like no fighting game has even gotten close to where those games were a decade ago, right?
I feel like our genre is. Can I be real? I feel like we're still in 2005.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm like not even. I'm saying that with no malice. That's not targeted to any company or anything. I'm just saying in general. I feel like I still feel like we're in the 2000s. You know, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah, it's absurd to like look at fighting games as a fighting game fan and feel sad. You know what I mean? Like that should not be the general feeling should not be one of sadness. And when that's like even like we try to take ourselves all the way back and look at the positive things happening in the community, but to like look at it and be like, why the fuck does this game not have this basic feature that's been in fighting games for 15 years or something, right?
Yeah,
every day it's like, what?
Like you said, you try not to be too negative or anything like this. You're not trying to bash, but like, I don't like that I feel this way, but I feel that way. Yeah. I don't like being I don't like that I feel so disappointed, but I am. You know, I can't mask it. I can't lie about it.
Yeah,
I feel. I just didn't want it to be. I didn't want 2020 to be this way. You know, I didn't want for the genre for the games. I didn't want that. And I wouldn't have even thought it would go down this way, but it kind of has. And I'm the man.
It's such a nasty feeling, right? Like
this podcast took a dark turn.
We were twerking on squat racks in the beginning, having a great time. But it's true. I mean, to be fair, it's true shit, right? Like you can't lie about it. Shit's real. Fighting games are just it's such a having such a nasty feeling about the genre you love is bad. I know lots of people who feel the way you feel, which 10 years ago they were like, I can't wait for this awesome thing to happen in our genre, who are now burnt out and not interested in fighting games anymore.
And you know, it's not that there aren't games out that I like and that I'm playing, a lot right now.
Same, yeah.
It's not that. It's more like I'm in Liquid meetings. I'm looking at what all these other genres are looking at what all these other games are doing. It's just like it's exponential.
Yeah.
The gap. It's I cannot stress that enough. It's not like multiples. It's exponential.
Yeah.
The difference. And I'm like, dude, we had like a 20-year start on some of these games. On some of these, like, how did this happen?
Especially in the competitive aspect, yeah.
Yeah, like legit 15, like 11, 12-year head start. And I'm just like, how did it come? Like, what are we doing? Like,
yeah.
It's.
And like it's so weird because the other thing is, like, as a fighting game fan, obviously you and I complain about these things a lot because this shit sucks and it matters. It's sad and also almost a little bit disturbing to see how often people defend the most basic things being missed, and you realize that they've just gotten so used to it that they can't even imagine these basic features like existing for them. Like, as consumers, it's like, come on, guys. Yeah. I can talk a lot of shit because a lot of these games have done bad shit and I've still bought them and played them. But like, I'm going to say this shit sucks, right? Like, you got to be honest. This shit's awful, right? It's awful.
Yeah, I mean, I always think constructive criticism is more valuable than, just shit posting memes. But Yeah, man. I mean, like we should be past the point where we have to treat everybody with kitty gloves. I don't like that. It's especially if I'm if I'm always there for you, if I'm always hanging out, if the shop opens up at 9 a.m. and I'm there at 8:50 every time, shit, man. I should be able to be real with you and level with you,
Yeah.
And I don't like that I feel that way, but I do, and that sucks, man.
It's true. It's definitely a bad feeling. I have a side question for you. What do you feel like? So Gear had this big beta for everybody to get to try it.
Sure.
What did you think about all the content created around it? The kind of people who were streaming it. What did you think about that kind of aspect from the anime community side of things?
I thought the stuff that came out of Arc System Works was really good. I thought like having those
videos?
Slightly longer video breakdowns. I thought that was really good. Props to Zynac, props to Arc System Works for getting that out in the middle of COVID. I wish that they would have gotten one on system mechanics or something like that, because obviously that was one thing that I really liked about Strive. Actually, was the RC system.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I thought it was actually. I would love to just paste that in art excerpt. I would love it. The content created around it. There's a lot of people I think that have been doing a lot better in terms of like YouTube stuff, Twitch stuff recently. And a lot of that I thought was good, just being able to even talk to audiences about the game. But the way I felt watching it was similar to the Maximilian thing. That says a lot, man. When you have fighting game players who are really excited, dude, there were so many people who never played GG, never gave a shit about it, never looked at it, and they were like, you know what, Bro, Chris T is at Nage on Twitter, man. Like, what the hell is going on?
That is the most bizarre timeline I've ever seen in my life.
I didn't see it until it had already happened. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? But that there were people that had never looked at it, and all of a sudden, for this one moment, like, I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
And I don't know if in the end it was a positive. My realistic, honest assessment is overall negative.
Yeah.
But I just think, man, like, golden opportunity missed. And I like I said, I think that they probably should have delayed the beta if they could have, but I know that that's expensive too. That's not always realistic for developers as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still hopeful that it turns out, way better, because I've been saying this, and I'm sure you can perceive this too, is I feel like now, ever since y'all's little crusade worked, and they put that, you know what I'm talking about in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Now I feel like every other scene, every other game has something riding on this one.
For
and
sure.
so I'm just thinking, like, man, there's probably way more at stake now for this game to not just do okay, but to excel. I think
sure.
It has to outdo its predecessors now. And I'm like, shit, man, like, is it gonna do it? I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna level with you. The way I look at it now is, I'm cool. Equivalent exchange, that's a lot of homunculi a lot. Yeah, if GG has to be the human sacrifice, if GG has to be the sacrifice for everybody else to get a big W in terms of game packages, I'm cool. I'm cool with it.
You're talking about the Daisuke alchemist that's happening right now, where Guilty Gear is the homunculi that needs to be sacrificed.
Guilty Gear is the little girl. And the dog is Rollback. Okay, so I'm cool if we're gonna make a monster, man. Let's do it. Whatever. It sucks that my little girl's got to take a punch in the chest. It sucks. Worst case scenario, right? Worst case scenario. What if it's just a game I don't like or whatever? Right?
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, I'm cool with let's make a monster, baby. Everybody's gonna get a W out of this. You get every other JP dev has to take notice of that. I think at some point.
Sure. Yeah.
If it does well.
The question is if the message is noticed or not, right? Because the thing is, when you look at these other, they've had games that have had many things that have been sick in games and just not been included, right? In so many other titles. So, dude, it feels like to me the devs are not only not looking back at their own projects, but definitely not looking laterally at other people's work.
That's also something I've been saying. It's not the best example. I acknowledge that.
Yeah.
It's not the best example, but I always bring up Virtua Fighter 4 Evo.
Mm-hmm.
This is before Netplay. This is just as a package, as a game at that time. I didn't really play Virtua. You know, dude, I go to CC's Pizza and there'd be Virtua.
Nobody
Fighter
played this game.
But like, come on, man. Yeah, you didn't really play. Not like that. Virtua Fighter Evo, I bought that game for $2.99. Literally didn't even have a case. It was GameStop. It just had a sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that kind of deal. So I brought it home and I felt like I popped that thing. I was like, whoa, tutorial? They're teaching me drills. They're actually teaching me how to play the game like that. I felt like I got that $3 then, and I got it so much more in return for that $3. And it's weird when you reflect like 10 years later, you're like, man, I feel like there should have been a point where everybody should have looked to the side and be like, hey, let's rise the tide and raise all the ships. So, you know, like, there's no reason why we shouldn't all be executing on some certain basic things. Now, case, you know, to your point, or to their point, I suppose, you know, VF4 Evo didn't sell very well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I feel like even just to promote the genre and be able to put yourselves in a position to be able to execute and deliver a super solid product, to be able to entice people to, you know, bring you more, put that money up, and also just continue to support you. I feel like at some point there should have been a desire to try to solidify package design. You know what I mean? And it didn't happen. And I feel like when you look at shooters, you can definitely look to this. I mean, especially like, dude, let's talk about Overwatch. How, you know, just god awful the spectator is, right? Valorant comes out infinitely better. They, right off the bat, you have them just looking like, this is a problem with this game. This could probably hit really hard, but it sucks really badly in this regard.
Right.
Let's do the same thing up to this level, but take this one thing that they didn't do well, bring it up.
Now, how many? So for me, right?
They took over Twitch for 2 weeks, 2.3 million viewers. Like, get out of here, man. Like,
it's absurd. The thing for me is when I play other games like that, right? So I think that's a great example. I think BR games are a great example. The new Call of Duty that I played Warzone on that, and card games and like many other things where every time I play them, I think to myself, oh, this game clearly liked this part of that game, this part of that game, and then this is their own spin on it. So they thought to themselves, these are the other things that exist in the genre. This is what they do well, or this is what is unique about them. So we don't want to take that because that's what makes that game that. But there are elements of it that is good that I think included in our game would be great. And I think that when I do that, I'm like, man, you know, when I play Warzone, it has this idea and this idea and this idea from other games that I think were really cool, but they weren't quite built right, or they weren't AAA or whatever. And when I play this game, I'm like, this is fantastic, right? So like, I think a good example is like in Call of Duty Warzone, the ping system in Apex Legends, in the BR Apex, is super good. So then that was like something that was, I think no other game did it even close, and Warzone kind of tried to like take some of the ping stuff and other things. You know what I mean? Like there's like ideas in there. Like when I play Runeterra, I'm like, this is part Hearthstone, part Magic the Gathering, part this card game. You know what I mean? Like you kind of see the influences, and in fighting games, I feel like that is, I almost never see it looking across.
Or it's there, but it's like very subtle things, and not super. It's never like with the package. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's. I feel like it's very rarely something like significant like that.
Yeah.
Might be some design stuff, might be some like character stuff, but never something like with the meat of the game.
Yeah, never like, you know, the ranked system in this game, or the single player content here, or the tutorial. It's never like, oh, this part of the game that is like really great we brought over, right? It's always just like, that game is more simple, our game will be more simple. It's like, no, like that's not what I want. That's not the part that makes the game fun or interesting or made me buy it, right?
Yeah, it's really, I don't know. It's the JP developers, I think they still have a long way to go in terms of you know, they've been making progress. You know, it's been slow, incremental, but at some point you get frustrated. You know, it's very frustrating being like we talked about this before, man. I used to watch, dude. My friends used to be comic book heads. I used to be like, dude, y'all are crazy, man. I can't believe I could. And I quote, I would never let a company dictate my happiness like that. And then fast forward, I'm like, shit. Dude, I've been doing that for 15, 20 years. I was the only. I'm no different. I'm no different. But
yeah,
you know,
I know what you mean.
It's the same. It's the same.
It's like, I mean, it's such a, and that's the thing about fighting game fans too, is like, we put down a lot of money for the stuff that we love, right? I think people often don't realize just how much of a commitment, especially on the monetary side, fighting games are compared to a lot of even other genres, to be honest. Like, people put money into fighting games and care about them, right, as consumers. So, like,
I don't know. I think maybe Xrd might be the most. But I'm ashamed to even guess how much money and time I put in the Guilty Gear.
Yeah.
And just Guilty. I'm not even talking about Third Strike, not even talking about Marvel, not even talking about anything else. Or SF4 or anything else.
Yeah.
Just GG. I think I'd be ashamed to even sit down and calculate or to even try to give you a number. And I don't pull that card very often, mind you. But when I think about it now in conversation, I'm like, man, I don't even want to go past a certain point.
And it's not even just buying the game multiple times and DLC and stuff. It's arcade, putting money into the arcade and other places too, right? Like, it's like, damn, that shit adds up.
Well, putting money. I'm just thinking, man, there were times where I would just get on the train, go to the arcade. I wouldn't even play. I would just sit there and I would meet with people to set up exhibitions. We'd have to set stuff up. We'd have, train fare there and back. By the time I, do all that stuff, legit hours of work just to set up a match that, a couple thousand people want to watch or whatever. But
yeah,
when I actually think about it, I'm like, dude, I don't even want to talk about it, to be honest with you. I really don't want to sit down and try to calculate.
I was talking to my chat about that when it comes to locals, right? Like, thinking about gas money to and from, parking, having to have dinner around wherever it is because you come after work or whatever, right? Paying $10 or $15 to enter the tournament, like all of that, 50 weeks a year when you go to your local and shit, you're like, man.
Fighting Tuesday isn't even that far from here, but when I think about it, train every week, train there and back, 3 hours of setup, do the event, 2 hours of cleanup, come on back, so tired you pass out.
Yeah.
But like it's you like it, so it's fun. It's something for something you like, so it's fun. You can justify it, right?
For sure. And so that's the thing that you think about when it comes back to fighting games and investing in them. It's like clear that everybody cares about them and we're willing to buy stuff. And I see this a lot in the fighting game community where people buy games they don't even want to play just to support the genre and just to support other stuff like that. Like, it's clear that we all care about the community and we want the games to be good enough to justify our purchase, right? Like, we want them to succeed. But
that's something that I didn't really like about like discourse with some games, like even like the MVCI stuff, like,
right,
want the game to fail. Like, no, dude, there is no one from North America that wants to see a shitty Marvel game, dude. Like, nobody wants that. Like, are you insane?
There's no positive of that.
Yeah, like, who would want that?
Yeah.
But at some point there's also that threshold of like, can I just, that meme of like the crying face but with the smiley face mask? Like,
yeah.
To what level are you willing to do that, or just like be honest about it, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has a different line there, but you can't get mad at people when they're finally willing to just be like, no, man, come on, this doesn't.
Yeah, you gotta let people have their criticism about shit, right? Like, if you really don't like some shit for whatever reason, like, you just don't like that shit, and if it sucks, you get to complain about it, right? Like,
I got 3 words for you: go off, King, go off.
Yeah, shit sucks, man. Sometimes you gotta be honest. I mean, that whole, when I talked about netcode the first time, the whole rant was because I watched TI, and I was like, man, everything about this is so much fucking better than anything we have. That's like, I was just so frustrated. I was like, ah. But what I was gonna say,
I've had those moments too, man. When I'm telling you, man, just even sitting down and being in meetings where you're hearing about the planning stages for stuff for some other games.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, if we could get even like 10% of this, I'm like, holy shit, we could do some crazy shit.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know. Like I said, I think the genre, I feel like it still has so far to go. I mean, maybe by 2030 it'll be better, but I will see, man.
That was a painful thing that you just said to me.
What? Well,
2030 is such a made up year in my brain. It's like so far away. Oh man. Brutal. But what I was going to say is one thing that I have seen lately that is cool, and I think you probably have a similar experience, is seeing people from all kinds of genres try different shit. I remember I've talked about this a few times that as somebody who, like, when I came into the scene, I was not a Capcom head, which is funny to think about now. How negative, I guess, the perception on basically all non-Capcom games has been for a long time. Like lately, especially seeing, I guess, kind of I feel like maybe fighting game Zoomers now is what it is, that are like so open to trying everything. And there's the general attitude of fighting games has been so like, oh yeah, I'm down to try whatever, more than I can ever remember in my
It's
time
perceivable
playing it.
now, maybe more so than it was 4 years ago.
Sure, yeah.
If I can say, it sounds stupid for me to say this, but like COVID silver lining, like
sure.
A positive that I've seen within our community is with the current situation, more people are willing to try stuff right now, right?
For sure.
There's no event going on, nothing really you're gunning for, right? You're tired of just endless rank. Hey man, try this game out. This game looks cool. I never really tried it before. Never really gave it that look. I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
Random people like yourself and Brian F, picking up Marvel 2, just to fulfill your your sick meme fantasies.
Excuse me.
or hell, Skullgirls, KI, right?
Yeah.
Right? Stay, watching Sage, watching, Brian, other people like that. People have been picking stuff up, and that I wish it didn't take I always come back to this. I hate. It's like that Larry David shit where you're like, like that.
Yeah, you're just
I'm like, I wish it didn't take a pandemic to get you guys to do that. I wish it didn't take a pandemic for that. But I'm happy that it's happening now.
Yeah, the thing is like a lot of people ask me why KI came back recently, and then a lot of people in my chat were like, "Oh, it's on sale for $10." I was like, "Bro, it's been $10 for 4 years." Like I was like, "Yeah, I'm like,
that's not why. Come on, man."
Yeah, I'm like, I mean, dude,
why are all these new people hopping on Melty Blood? Melty Blood, the fucking god. Why are people hopping on Melty Blood randomly? Why are people hopping on? It's painfully obvious, man.
You gotta try some shit. Moss has been bothering me to play Melty Blood, so I'll probably do it in the next couple weeks.
I think I think it'd be hype. I think it'd be hype. Just honestly, I think if you mess around with Chaos, you'll have a lot of fun.
I'm gonna play Chaos. He looks tight. Every time I see him, he's just such a cool looking character visually.
That character, the thing with that game is there's some dumpster characters, but like the characters that are there too, when you understand them and when you understand what they can do and just the way the game is, that game is hype, man. People are validated, I think, to be upset about that bathroom meme or like the toilet meme, because 90% of the people making those jokes are that, first of all, it's corny as hell. Second, that game's fucking good.
Yeah.
That's actually a good ass game. That's the sad part.
Yeah, I mean, I think that attitude existed about a lot. It's like the punching down, meme that had existed. Speaking of which, there's been a lot of online tournaments for games that have great netcode recently. I was supposed to do a Street Fighter online tournament, but that only had 7 entrants, so it was canceled recently because of that. And I saw what happened.
Really?
Yeah. There was like I was hired to do a Street Fighter online tournament not that long ago, but it had 7 entrants, so it was canceled.
Round robin, baby, let's go.
They did not even have a top 8, so I couldn't. So I was just thinking about the Melty Blood meme. That shit is powerful.
Oh,
that's all.
Oh,
I
get it.
I was just imagining all the 7 Street Fighter players flexing in the mirror, like just the the meme of all the protagonists, like the people, the big ass buff dudes.
All I can say, I'm glad you said it, not me. I'm glad you said it. I'm glad, because if I said it, I'm just me barking at the moon. I'm glad you said it.
Yeah. Dude, Street Fighter 4 players are toxic. You and I both know it.
Oh, they're the worst. Like I said, man. I always come back to this. I don't really like to point out players like that. I just blame the culture. It's the easier way out.
Lately, blaming the culture has not been mathematically not the best.
I'm willing to roll the dice. I feel good about my odds on this one.
I think
I'll blame the culture. All
right, fair enough. Yeah, I think
it writes itself, man. I'm sorry. It's too easy.
What do you say? It writes itself. It writes itself.
Dude, you could have never made some shit up like that. That shit is fantastic. Oh my god.
If we had tournaments, we wouldn't have needed to write such a compelling script.
This shit is insane, man. Like, I'm watching people just go crazy. I'm watching people just go crazy
inside their house. Yeah. This is what we've all resorted to, honestly. Like the fact that there's no tournaments has turned, It's like the Guilty Gear intro. Like, man realized it could not. Like, it's like what has happened to us all.
So instead, they blame the culture.
Instead,
it's and the thing is, it's we talked about this earlier with regards to like not having our events, how hard events carry these games and stuff like that. Yeah, not having events like that. How much does that do for just like when we don't have that positive focus for our games, when we don't have that those positive experiences to focus on and focus our discussion on?
Yeah.
When it's all related to just like, just
net play, memes, negativity.
Twitter dribble, just like Twitter dribble, nonsense on net play. It's just like it's no me gusta. That's all I can say, man.
It had I think it had like almost had like the biggest impact I can think of is like the Tekken perception, right? Like I can't think of a game that thrived more on the tournament scene and then it disappearing harmed its reputation almost more than that game.
Because that online vocal, I don't want to say community because I've never seen any of those dudes at a tournament.
And yeah, ever.
But like that online vocal entity. I said this yesterday. You ever seen The Matrix 3? You seen the third Matrix movie, right? When Neo goes to the Machine City and he sits in the chair and all the little robots. That's just YouTube comments, Reddit, and Twitter. They just make the big baby face and they're like that's the machine liaison. That's that big amorphous baby face was always there, dude. Harada's like, my dog died today, and they're like, put Beg back in the game, asshole. I want Kunimitsu, and just all that shit, right?
Yeah,
nonstop, just asinine stuff.
I always hate those people. If you're somebody who like adds a dev every day asking for a new character, I hate you, and I can say that confidently because what will happen? I know this every time. These motherfuckers for years put Julia in the game, put Armor King in the game. They played the character for 10 minutes, and then they're like, damn, I suck. Hey, put Christy in the game, put this character. They just went right back at him with a new character. Like, none of those people are ever satiated, and I hope Melina never comes back to Mortal Kombat.
2 important points I want to come back to on that. Remind me of one of them.
Okay.
The thing is that online presence, or whatever you want to call it, was always there. But we had so much positivity. We had so much. Think about like last year with Tekken, dude. Like, what game has stories like that? Mm-hmm. Regardless of what Jeff Neely or what's that other guy, Thorin, whatever. Regardless of whatever those guys had to say, that game fucking killed it, man. You can't take shit away from that game last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you think about like what that game, that presence, that positivity, all that experience, all those tournaments, that stuff has so much draw, and we could focus so much of our attention on that even though this negative presence is there, like whatever, like who cares? That in comparison to this is who cares? Now you remove that's gone, and that's all you can see. That like, yeah, man, like of course it looks bad, it looks negative.
You have to give so much credit to the community, the tournaments, and the people who organize TWT, which is like such an incredible tour format, right? You got to give Rick a lot of credit. And
this goes back to my other point.
Your other point.
This is the other reason why that shit really pisses me off. It's because Tekken in particular is best world tour.
Yeah.
You have producers, you have higher ups in the company that you can just directly at and communicate with.
Mm-hmm.
You have people that are hustling for the game nonstop, behind the screen, in front of the screen, visible, invisible, you don't even know.
Yep.
What game has more forces pushing it right now? And yet there's that, right? Like, put Kunimitsu in the game. Just like the angry Matrix baby face.
Yeah.
Whatever. And yet, look at where we are with Guilty Gear. Look at where we are with some of these other games. If we have this survey for the Strive beta, that's the first time this company's ever asked the Western community what it thinks about a product, ever. You think you can just add Pachi? You think you can just add Daisuke and get a response or something like that? Hell no, man. That doesn't work that way. So when you have a gift like this, you literally don't have the capacity to realize how good you have it.
Yeah.
How good you have it. Other scenes would kill for that shit, man.
I learned this lesson when I was part of the KI community.
I knew you were going to say it. I knew it.
Keats and them had a stream every single time there was a patch discussing where they thought the balance was, why the changes were made, the kinds of matchups they expected to be, affected by the changes. Like
give props, because Western Dev, look, man, you can shit on NRS. I'm coming, Kano. You can shit on NRS for a lot of reasons, man. But look, them Iron Galaxy, they paved the way for being a lot more vocal and a lot more forward facing with the community in terms of stuff like that. They're leaders in that regard. I give props every time.
You know, people talk shit about MK for so many reasons, but man, that combat cast, all the shit that they do to support the events and everything, you can't hate. And KI did that shit. Keats was in the chat room of all the tournaments, like always there. People would at him and talk shit about him all the time.
I never played KI, but I watched it, right? I watched it a lot, and I watched those too. Most of them, I think. I caught most of them. Yeah, because I could watch them before I went to work when I was living in the countryside. And yeah, I was like, man, this is so sick. Like, why don't we have? why is not everybody doing this? You know?
Yeah, it's such a cool idea, and I was talking about it with my chat. I remember in like 2015, I think before Street Fighter 5, and saying like, you KI players are so spoiled. You don't realize how good you have it and how negative your attitude online has ruined, you know, the perception of this for the other devs and stuff, because it was at a time where like Combo Fiend was in a bunker somewhere, like no one could find him. Right, he was like, Yun has trouble getting in, and we never saw him again. It was like he just disappeared, and like Street Fighter fans had no one to reach out to about anything going on, and KI fans were like, oh, the KI is so bad right now because this, and I was like, you motherfuckers don't realize how good you have it. Like, it's like absurd to like see how the community has something so fantastic and then treats it in such a bad way. You know what I mean? With regards to their relationship with the developers and their ability to communicate with them.
Which is something that I really like. I think our community needs is more introspective thought.
Yeah, for sure.
More capacity for just like reflection, introspection, and being able to take a step back, look to the left and the right. It's something so basic, something so small, but when stuff like that happens, right? I'm just like, you know, like it just comes off mad tone deaf, man. It's really hard to respect. Personally, I mean, it makes me furious. I legit get tight. Legit, like the happy mask meme, you know, like
just like crying underneath it. Like,
yeah, I mean, dude, there's scenes that are hustling that will kill for that shit, and you're gonna come on, man, like that's so whack.
For sure. But like you have to. I think you have to go through it and then have the forethought after to think about it to really notice that kind of shit. I'm sure there's people that have been a part of those communities and never thought about it. Like they've never realized how their attitude affects this kind of shit. It's like very clear. But yeah, I mean,
all the more reason why it's okay to just pump the brakes sometimes, man. You don't have to go ham. You know, maybe you're tripping. Maybe you're tripping. Like ask somebody, you know?
If you don't constantly, I find that it's so fascinating to me. You know, I don't know if this is just me, but like I read all the comments people type. This is a horrible idea. I read all the YouTube comments, right?
I know. Yeah.
I love reading that shit. And I don't know if it's just me, but I always love reading it because I think it gives you such an interesting perspective. Like, first of all, you read some horrifying shit about yourself, but then second of all, the other reason it's so interesting is you get to like look back and be like, does he have a point? Does like Swag Lord 69 have a point when he says, I hate Sajam's commentary. He didn't shut the fuck up right here. I hope he kills himself. I'm like, all right, well, let's move to the last part. But the part where he says, I didn't shut the fuck up right here, does Swag Lord have a point? And I think about it, and I'm like, no, he doesn't have a point. He's an idiot. And I just move on. But sometimes I am like, you know what? That is a good point, actually. He just, I talked, this thing I did right, you know what I mean? Like, that ability to pull yourself back is important.
Rather than Swag Lord 420's comment itself, it's more, the most valuable thing is, it forces you to have to think about it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Rather than the fact that he's like, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
It's more like, damn, am I tripping? That moment of am I tripping is more valuable than him saying whatever he's saying,
Exactly. And I realized there's like so many times I've realized that where like I did some shit and then I made something, I was super happy with it. Some guy dropped a comment and he was completely off base or wrong or whatever. And I was like, I hate this guy. And I backed up and I was like, damn it, he's still wrong, but I'm wrong too. You know what I mean? It was like one of those moments of like reflection where you're like, damn, I suck. All right, we got to go back to the drawing board. There was like, that biggest feeling of like that for me, I can say confidently, is when the Street Fighter netcode thing came out and I tweeted about how nothing had changed because of the early responses. And it had turned out that something had changed, but the netcode is not fixed, right? It made me realize like...
It wasn't technically correct.
I wasn't technically correct. And I realized that I spoke too quickly on something. So then I went back, I reevaluated, and I was like, I was wrong, but so were they, right? It's like, so is the other people who like tweeted about it. So I was like, all right, let me do something correct. So I went back and I came back, I think like 2 days later, and I did like an hour long, essentially a lecture about the netcode changes, what things had. Yeah, I did like it was like the most research I had put into something in a while. And I came back and did something that I truly had put a lot of time and effort and thought into. And it came out way better, right? So like, those kinds of moments of reflection are important for anybody whose voice is public often, right? And it's whether it's you yelling about developers and changes and stuff, or whether you're yelling about, something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was essentially, someone in the chat said it was essentially like a TED Talk. I was like, all right, I got to do as much research as I can. I spent like hours and hours and hours thinking about what I was going to say and exactly how I was going to say it and the ordering of the things I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, that happens sometimes, especially like that kind of topic too. It's like, it's naturally technical,
For sure.
Like even listening to those GDC talks about like NRS and how they did their netcode. I didn't understand 70% of that. I was just like, man, they put a lot in this, like that kind of thing. Like, but for people, especially as they grow in prominence or their voice grows in reach, I think it's kind of a difficult thing to come to grips with. I can't even say I'm comfortable with even where my level is with it. Sometimes I'm tripping sometimes, but
yeah.
The point is that you need to have that moment of introspection to realize it, and that's something that I think we should all be a little bit better with.
For sure.
Or not we should all, but you know what I mean. Like more people, I think, should be more conscious of.
Yeah, and it's not even just like for you and I, obviously, right? When we say things, it's just there are some people who just don't like either of us for whatever reason, right? Like, so there's gonna be people who are talking shit, but just in general, it's regardless of whether your voice is large or if there's a small group of people, like whoever you are, it's important to think about that shit, right? Like there's a guy whose content I really like. He makes these really funny shorts about D&D and stuff, and he made a video. And it's a joke video. It's not even meant to be very serious about how he teaches you. And he made a video and he remade it later and was like, hey, I realized some of the stuff I got wrong, so I wanted to remake it, right? I read a comment about how he was really drunk on stream and talking about how the comments on the video were so negative about it the first time because he stereotyped like some class a certain kind of way that he was so upset that it literally had him in tears, like being frustrated about the thing that he created. And he was so upset that he like had to recreate the video, not because people were upset at him and he felt like he should do it right, but because he was just crushed by like the response to the stuff he did. And like that feeling as a creator is brutal. And that's the feeling that I felt when I made that tweet and then deleted it, that I was like, as a creator, it's not just a responsibility to recreate something and do it right, but there's a responsibility to yourself to realize that you did something that you maybe should have like thought about or fact checked yourself and pulled yourself back and introspected. And I think people, regardless of how big or small your audience is, have to do that. You know what I mean? You have to realize, like, am I just being an asshole by tweeting at this person, hey, I don't care that your dog died, put Kunimitsu in the game? Yes, you are. No one cares about that. I don't even know who the fuck Kunimitsu is. I never played that Tekken. I don't give a fuck, right? So it's like, you know what I mean? Like you have to do that kind of stuff whether you're a creator or not, I think.
Yeah, agreed. It's we're not even talking about fighting games anymore, man. Like this is like,
it's like the Twitch meta talk we had earlier, but as like a creator talk, or even just as a human being, how to treat other people.
Yeah, I would say more that.
Yeah.
Especially just looking at how discourse is now. How I don't want this to be a Debbie Downer podcast.
No, it doesn't have to be.
Let's not go down that road. But for sure, empathy and introspection, we could all use a little bit more of that, I think.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely true. And with all the shit I saw on Twitter, so many people came into my stream and wanted me to talk about that kind of shit, and I was like, y'all motherfuckers came to the wrong place. You think that's gonna be the topic of today's stream? That shit cracked me up.
Oh man,
they came to the wrong place. I'll let you talk about it if
I could just imagine like your title, just like, is the culture wrong? Just like
no.
Is the culture wrong?
Oh no, that would be bad. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you about this. Ringe brought up a point that I did want to ask. You failed me. Rollback to the Future. It was a budding script that I was reading on your screen. You had written a story.
I still have it. It's just it's in the drafts. I still have it.
Rollback to the Future, a story of time travel within the fighting game community.
With incredible character development, I might add.
For sure, yeah. There's a lot of ups and downs. This is maybe asking a lot. Can you deliver a synopsis? Are you gonna pull it up?
I'm pretty sure I still have it.
All right, because I was fascinated by the storytelling, and because of that,
the date is April 1st, 2020, 4:39 p.m. The American government, pushed to the brink of destruction by its own incompetence, discovers that the secret to time travel lies in the netcode of a 2D fighting game online service called GGPO. Using the formula found in the solved codex that they found on Wilt Chamberlain's grave, they are able to extract 3 vials of rollback juice from cyberspace using a 3D printer from the Cal Poly Pomona student union. 3 warriors from the... You can't laugh. You're going to make me laugh.
Sorry.
I'm trying to stay in narrative mode. 3 warriors from the fighting game community were chosen to travel back in time and roll back to the future. Sajam, Hook Gang God, and Chris T. Will these 3 fighting game warriors be able to rewrite history and roll back to the future? A tale of netcode and time travel eternally retold. Rated M for mature. Chapter 1, A Dark Future. The time machine crash lands in front of Esports Arena, Orange County. Sajam and Hook both agree to split up and complete their mission objectives separately in order to accomplish them on time. Chris T agrees to travel to the Middle East to broker the peace deal and prevent World War III. But first, he must spend a month in time-forged Chrysalis listening to Duolingo and all the Rosetta Stones in order to learn how to speak Persian fluently. However, a month would take far too long. So Brent is cool and Mike L. Na sacrifice their life force in order to slow the passage of time and allow Chris T to complete the month of Persian training in a day, real time. They entrust Low-Tier God as his keeper and task him with freeing him at 10 a.m. January 3rd. However, LTG awakens Chris T's chamber at 9:38 a.m., thus scrambling Chris T's memories of the tarnished future. Now, with scattered recollections of what would become reality, Chris T must enlighten himself and reclaim his lost memories. Only then will he be able to journey across the world and prevent World War III.
So that's his storyline.
Must journey to the NBA Hall of Fame in order to save Kobe, save the season, save the Utah Jazz from Rudy Gobert. Hook knows no one will believe him except Shaquille O'Neal, who he must first recruit. However, en route to LAX, while stuck in traffic on the freeway, Papa John's approaches him from the sky. Having eaten 40 pizzas, he achieves nirvana, able to see his day of reckoning that happens in the future timeline. With the cursed knowledge of alternate dimensions and black magic and pagan sorcery, he challenges Hook and Shaq for the right to claim the future. Shaq falls in an attempt to save Hook, buying him time to escape. However, with his dying breath, he tells Hook to seek out Charles Barkley and to save Kobe. Hook, tears in his eyes, dripping on his overpriced vape jacket, agrees and heads towards the Staples Center. Sajam knows that in order to convince the President of the United States that he should take the threat of the coronavirus more seriously, he will need to be able to create a very compelling, yet simple YouTube video to use a visual aid. Sajam heads to the Midwest to meet with the one person who knows he can validate his story about meaningful data about Rollback. Keats, Benny, and Sajam then ride. Dude, this is where the writing goes kind of haywire. I have to find a way for you to meet up with Maximilian and Benny. Okay. Something happens, you meet up with. For some reason, I think you have to fight Max, but Benny takes his spear. I don't know. We haven't figured that out yet.
Okay.
But you're with Keats. And with Keats, Benny, and Sajam ride the Greyhound bus to Washington, D.C. And it's very like JoJo's Part 3-esque, where along the way you're encountering, agents of whatever. We haven't figured
Agents of delay, big delay.
Along the way, they realize that Red Blade is in the front of the bus reading dojins. In order to get off the bus, they are forced to defeat him while he downplays Wagner on Twitter. Oofmatic and all of the Seraph Esports Discord team recognize Sajam, Benny, and Keats on their way to Washington, D.C. They request to join the party and help save the future until Sajam reveals that in the future they are all fucking idiots, banned from all events. Oofmatic, driven insanity, traps Benny in the flat Earth matrix and blinds Keats with the power of his "Make America Great Again" hat. Sajam must defeat him one-on-one as the BB tag player takes his shirt off and watches. Upon defeat of Uvmatic, the BB Tag player absorbs the digital Discord matrix of the Seraph esports team thing and challenges the party. Eventually, the party arrives at the White House, but the ghost of Jacob Epstein challenges them at the gates before they can advance. After a tough battle, the ghost of Epstein retreats to the West Wing, sending hordes of Secret Service men to challenge the Rollback Warriors. And there was a subplot where basically they knew that if you and Steve teamed up, then you would achieve your goals. So they get Steve, and they take it, like they take his beads.
Sure.
So you have, and now Steve's belongs to them. So you have to free Steve, and at the end you have to face him. That's kind of where we were going.
I thought that the subplot was that I was having phantom pains from like future Steve grabbing past Sajam's arm.
That's a plot element, but also like if I were to make this an RPG, I would make that kind of like a gameplay mechanic.
Right. So I have to have like bead juice.
It's like your limit break.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
like when you get the phantom pain, like you get a special.
What happened to this? Why is this not finished?
Dude, I don't know, man. I haven't had a drink in a while.
I see. All right. Fair enough. Well, that was the last thing. That was like the last thing on my mind. But the first thing I wanted to bring up when this happened. So then I'm glad I was reminded in the chat. It was pretty good.
You know what's crazy reading this? This was only like a month ago, and I don't even remember some of this shit. I don't even remember. Like, dude, I don't even remember that. Who the hell is Uvmatic? I don't even remember.
It's good. It's a good story. I gotta say, it's a compelling article.
There's some, it's incomplete. It's a work in progress.
For sure. Well, that's basically about all I wanted to ask you about. This is by far the longest podcast I've done.
Oh yeah, my bad, man.
No, it's great. It was a great time. So where can what's some future shit that people should look out for from you, and where can people find you?
Some first is some online events courtesy of Tenno on Anime Illuminati, but also some pretty unique YouTube content. Let's say on Anime Illuminati YouTube. Make sure you guys hit it up, subscribe, hit the bell, etc., etc. And this YouTube channel too, I guess.
Yes, check it out, Anime Illuminati. Also, if you ever see Obama stream, turn it on. I guarantee, if you see the dog especially, it's going to be a good stream. But
we only busted out special occasions now, but
yeah, it's always a good one. So I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for chatting. People,
hey, thanks for asking me, man. Thanks for hanging out.
I'm sure I'll ask you again too. It's dope. I was planning to have you were definitely one of the first people I wanted to talk to for sure. You're on the list. It's always fun to chat. You and I mean, I don't know if people realize we basically only ever chat when we're at events. Like, it's like kind of hard to like actually just sit down and talk ever too.
Or just in stream chat or something. Yeah. Usually like I'm going to bed when you start. Actually, let me add one more thing to this. This is it's just because it's me here, and I feel like this is something kind of unique. With all this, I think something that's arcades have been on the way out anyway for a while now, man.
This is a good idea.
But this COVID stuff, killing locals, I can't say in good confidence Fighting Tuesday ever comes back. I can't say that. I can't say that the venue where we did it comes back, right? Arcades too, man. When I felt like before any of this started, I felt like I could look at the arcades here and I could say, you know what? At least like there's 2 or 3 I think that they have enough notoriety, or they have enough community activity where they'll always be okay. But the rest are going to go down for sure. Bro, this COVID's like, they're closing up shit. Like, it's done. The good thing is, there's been a lot of really good like crowdfunding projects. Mikado, I think, raised like $250,000 or some shit like that in like 3 days. It was insane. So like, they're good. Game Newton, if you guys know Matsuda-san, is responsible for running and organizing a lot of the events in Japan. Co-op Cup, Master Cup. He's a part of that. Hokuto no Ken Nationals. I could go on. Vampire Savior Nationals if you play that. His arcades, I think, are now in the middle of crowdfunding projects as well. If you guys want to seek that out, if you guys want to be a part of it, it's difficult, I think, for a lot of people to relate to if you've never been to Japan or if you've never played in them. But it's something that's unique about here, and it's something that I'm really fond of. So I just wanted to, put it out there. If you guys are interested in it, hell, ask me or someone else on Twitter, and I'll give you the links. But there's, I think, probably going to be like 4 or 5 arcades that I think are going to be able to make it through this, and that's good because I still think that they're really unique, man. It's a crazy place. If you get the opportunity to go, you should definitely go. Stop by. I can't describe it to you, really, if you're younger than a certain age. I don't want to romanticize or anything like that. I like fine line, but when you walk into one of those places and there's lights, there's Colossus yelling at the top of his lungs for no fucking reason, you know, like just you know, the puzzle bobble machine going off in the background. It's a really unique kind of environment. It's something that is very difficult for me to describe to you. Seek it out.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all.
And if you didn't have any arcades in you, when like around your area when you were like playing fighting games, right? It's hard to explain, but even if you've never been to Japan, those arcades are, yeah, it's like the faces and the things you see in them are like, it's something you can't recreate anywhere else. You know what I mean? It's like everybody has like these very unique arcade stories that you will not ever see again or hear again, right?
I got some cool stuff about this coming out on YouTube very soon. Look forward to it.
Yeah, I saw Gina did a thing talking about the arcades and like showing off the fundraiser, so that's already on the YouTube. But it sounds like you're gonna do something else too, which is great.
Yeah, I got a much bigger project that should be coming down the pipeline very soon.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. If you guys want to support the arcades, keep in mind Anime Illuminati. If you watch this on YouTube or if you missed any of this or whatever, the description always has everything. In case you guys are curious, it's always got all the links. You guys can go check out, find all of his stuff, find out where to watch Obama stuff. I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for it. And I'm sure I'll ask you on some other time. Everybody said, like, this is the longest one I've done, like I said, and everybody was like, damn, I'm sad it's ending. So it's always good to have you on chat. I hope life is good. Drop some hands in the chat. You already know what's good. And
yeah, be good, y'all. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming through.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
I had fun, man. Yeah, this is cool. I like hanging out.
Yeah, it was a good chat. I'm sure I'll hit you up again soon. All right, man. Have a good one.
Yeah.